Good evening from Washington, D.C., and thank you to those of you joining us from around the world for news from a Catholic perspective. I'm Lauren Ashburn. President Trump and the First Lady are joining mourners tonight in Pittsburgh, 3 days after a gunman killed 11 people Saturday at the Tree of Life Synagogue. It is the worst anti-Semitic attack in U.S. history. The first funerals for 3 of the victims happened today. And yet some Jewish leaders and the Democrat mayor of Pittsburgh asked the president not to come.
Our focus as a city will be on the families and the outreach that they'll need this week and the support that they'll need to get through it. Once we get past that, then I think there's the opportunity for presidential visits.
The rabbi at the Tree of Life has said the president is always welcome. We go to White House correspondent Mark Irons, who is outside Tree of Life Synagogue, where the community is trying to heal. Good evening, Mark.
The president is here today at the synagogue. We've been speaking to people all day in this neighborhood. They aren't too focused on his trip, though. They are talking about how it's time to put aside differences over politics, over religion. And that's why the tragedy here was such a shock, because people in this community of different faiths are united.
You never think that something like this is going to come to your hometown.
Glenn Hall lives 2 blocks from Tree of Life. Today, he pays his respects at the makeshift memorial outside the synagogue.
These neighborhoods, neighbors are all connected.
Less than a mile away, I met Father Thomas Burke outside St. Bede Catholic Church. Father Burke is a police department chaplain. He says 4 officers wounded during the synagogue massacre will make it through. And now people in this neighborhood are relying on one another.
Our communities are coming together, regardless if you're Catholic, Jewish, Protestant, or even a non-believer. Hopefully this can wake up and say we're all human beings.
St. Bede parishioner Kay Boyle is shocked at the hate that filled Tree of Life. She says the Jewish men and women within this tight-knit community are her neighbors, friends.
Watching a tragedy occur, it's never been in our neighborhood before.
It was personal, like this was an attack on Jews.
And that's why Jeff Parnas came down from New York. His Jewish congregation helped design these stars painted with messages of hope.
You respond to acts of hate with acts of kindness.
Jeff says he experienced anti-Semitism as a kid.
So to experience that level of hate, you know, you grow up with that and you're aware of it, but you strive to do things to show we love this country, we love our neighbors. It doesn't matter what your religion or faith or background is.
And Catholic Sandy Levy says the horrific tragedy that happened inside a place of worship shouldn't break apart faith communities.
We can't live in fear. We really have to just keep praying and asking for God's protection over these worship sites.
Faith communities are sticking together here. Another big example, the Muslim community here in Pittsburgh raised over $70,000 for victims and their families. Lauren?
Mark, those funerals were today. What can you tell us about David and Cecil Rosenthal and Dr. Jerry Rabinowitz, who were laid to rest today?
That's right, Lauren. The Rosenthal brothers were intellectually disabled brothers. They were described as inseparable, beautiful souls. And as for Dr. Rabinowitz, I spoke with a Catholic nurse who worked with him at a hospital here. She was too emotional to speak with us on camera, but she told me he was a great man.
White House correspondent Mark Irons. Thank you, Mark.